I actually care about these characters. Like they've told the story so well that I actually care about the characters that are involved in this particular series.
Woke up this morning, feeling that shine. Whole team got the glow. You can see it in the stride. Got me feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new. Got me feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new, feeling brand new. Yeah.
What up, YouTube? It's your boy JusRzd, and welcome to another edition of Raised Reviews. Shout out to my wife on the retwist. Hey man, we gotta talk about it. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, episode 7 and episode 8. Or was it? No. Was it 7 and 8? No. It was 9 and 10, right? Anyway, the last two episodes. The last two episodes of the season have finally premiered on Disney Plus, and man, this show surprised me pleasantly. Not because it was good, because like I said in a previous review, I'm gonna let them cook, because rarely does Marvel and Disney go wrong with animated Spider-Man adaptations. It's just something that rarely happens. For the most part, the majority of the animated adaptations of Spider-Man have been very good. Or good in the least, and at the most fire. So it's just like between the good and fire category. So for the most part, none of them have been terrible or mid. Even the one they did on MTV, it was groundbreaking for what they were doing at the time. But this particular series, man, these last two episodes, I love the way they kind of tied up the storyline with a nice bow, and then introduced so many other hints to plot lines and storylines that they could touch in the future. Thought it was dope. We see, of course, we see the conflict between the 1/10 and the Scorpions escalate. We see Norman visiting Otto Octavius in jail, pretty much gloating the fact that not only are you in here in jail, but now I got all your resources, I got all your inventions, because of the favor in using Tony Stark and Thunderbolt Ross to arrest you. Now Oscorp has the ability to go in and take all your inventions and take everything you've been working on and pretty much make it better. And he just showed up in jail just to gloat. And of course Otto was pissed about the whole situation, because who wouldn't be? That's mad petty, Norman. But we kind of, in these last two episodes, we kind of start to see a little bit of Norman's true colors. And so we see the 1/10 planning to rob Otto Octavius' hideout. They see the truck from Oscorp. They chase it down, end up causing a crash. Almost the crash almost ends up taking Nico out, because she just happened to be walking down the street with her headphones in, listening to a voicemail from Peter, who was trying to apologize to her. But he ends up showing up in the nick of time to save Nico, rescues her out of the situation. She forgives him. They become good friends after that. And then we see, of course, Donovan and the 1/10, including Lonnie, trying to rob the truck. Spider-Man comes back, stops him. He gets halfway through stopping him when he realizes that Lonnie's with him, and he's like, yo, you don't need to be here. So they start having their discord. As they're talking, Scorpion and the Scorpions show up ready to fight. So now they're having this all-out brawl in the middle of the street. Scorpion attacks Donovan, threatens to kill him. Donovan gives up and is like, yo, I quit. And then Spider-Man's able to save him before Scorpion can actually kill him or unalive him. And then we see what's his name? Lonnie kind of pick Donovan up off the ground. Is like, yo, what do we do next? What's the next plan? What's the next play? What's the move? And Donovan's like, man, I'm getting up out of here. And pretty much turntails and runs on up out of there, leaving the 1/10 to fend for themselves. So Lonnie steps up in that moment to just kind of rally his troops back into the situation. He didn't want to leave them hanging. And he ends up breaking into the truck through the help of Doza. He ends up breaking into the truck because he almost got beat up by Scorpion's right-hand girl. And Dozer ends up tackling her. He got in the truck. He ends up knocking over a vial of something, some chemical gas that ends up filling the truck, and he barely makes it out of the truck. He, of course, has now been, has breathed in this gas and has now infected him to the point where now he's starting to get his comic book powers as Tombstone, and we start to see his invulnerability. He can't be penetrated. His skin is hard as like some unbreakable metal or some unbreakable chemical. I forgot what exactly his comic book power. I know he's super strong and he can't be penetrated with like your normal. Like, it's something special that has to penetrate his skin if his skin can be penetrated at all. But we start to see that take place, and then him and Spider-Man pretty much team up to take out Scorpion. Scorpion ends up pulling a fast one on him and dropping a super. First of all, we thought he stabbed Lonnie Lincoln. He low-key did, but because the chemical had already started taking effect in his system, his tail didn't actually pierce him, so he was able to use his strength to move back the tail. Him and Spider-Man kind of had discourse throughout the fight, and Lonnie's like, nah, it's new for me. I ain't never had powers. And we see Scorpion actually drop some steel construction beams on top of Lonnie and Spider-Man. Lonnie pushes Spider-Man out the way, and Spider-Man gets pissed because he thinks Lonnie's unalived at this point. And so he goes after Scorpion and is about to take his life because everything that Norman had talked about him holding back, and Scorpion was able to beat you because you did hold back and he didn't. So all that starts to fluster into his head to the point where it overtakes him. He gets upset, he gets pissed, and he's getting ready to take him out. Lonnie ends up stopping him, and he's just like, bro, don't do this. People look up to you. You can't be like him. You don't want to be like him. And they end up allowing him to get arrested, and Spider-Man doesn't take his life. And then we see pretty much Lonnie and Spider-Man kind of go their separate ways because they hear the police coming. He's like, yo, you kind of got to get out of here. And Lonnie's like, low-key, you kind of do too. And he's like, well, yeah, you're right. And then Spider-Man pulls up on Nico. Nico swings on him because he scared her. And they just kind of reconcile their relationship and say no more secrets. And she looks at her amulet as he walks away, and she's like, yeah, you're right, no more secrets. And we see that in season 2, their relationship is probably going to get more truthful. They'll probably start to share more with each other, and you can see that their friendship is going to continue to bud in season 2. And it's interesting just to see how everything kind of resolved with the 1/10 and with Scorpion. He called Norman called him actually, and they started talking, and he was just like, I thought you were gonna come out Oscorp to just debrief about what happened. He was just like, yeah, I thought about everything that you said and it almost took me over the edge. And he was like, yeah, but it didn't. You know what I mean? We'll all have slip-ups and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, you're choosing to be a hero. You're choosing to do the right thing. And even if you fall short, you'll continue to get up and choose to do the right thing, which is the whole essence of Peter Parker's Spider-Man in the first place. So that was dope that they had that through point kind of driven home in that episode. I thought that was cool. That episode was super fun, super fire. The next episode, we pretty much pick up with Peter doing some more crime fighting before school. Of course, Peter, not Paula. What is her name? It's not Paula. It's Pearl. Peter, Pearl, and Emma, I believe, is her name. We see him getting ready to present something. We see Nico trying to text Harry to tell him that, their presentation, they're about to be called up. And we see Spider-Man get to school just in the nick of time of him not being late. Nico actually goes up first, so that way he can have more time. And then as they go up, after he did his crime fighting, he saved somebody's car from being stolen. and it looks like they end up with an A- on their project and presentation. Then we see Peter ended up getting a call into Oscorp for his internship, and we see that the engine that they were working on, the generator that they were working on, now works flawlessly. Him and Dr. Connors. So all the interns, of course, Amadeus, Asha, and the other girl, are all there just looking at their different inventions, and then Norman invites them up to the upper floors, and we see pretty much what all their inventions entailed, what they were actually building, and why it was important. And Norman, pretty much behind everybody's back, has been allowing each group to construct different parts of a interdimensional portal that he has created to pretty much explore the depths of space. And didn't tell anybody this, so nobody knew except for the people that were actually working on it, which was the head of the internship, which is the cranky old professor, or the cranky old scientist, and of course Norman and everybody else that was working on that. So Amadeus ended up figuring out what he was building was part of the portal, but nobody else knew. And so we see everybody kind of be shocked and amazed at what's going on. They're getting ready to turn on the portal, and Doctor Strange pops up. It's just like, yo, shut all this down. I get what you're trying to do. It ain't gonna work. You're playing with things that you don't understand, and it can possibly cause issues that you don't understand. Norman disregards this entire speech that Doctor Strange gives his own speech, pretty much fussing out Doctor Strange for all the collateral damage that his heroes cause. And Peter's like, yo, I recognize you. You the dude that showed up in the first episode and that messed up Midtown High. And and we're trying to figure out, Doctor Strange's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't never been to Midtown High. So what are you saying? And so it's this whole discourse of just weirdness, because it's like, yo, what's happening? He was there. Maybe this is a different Doctor Strange. Maybe that was a Doctor Strange from a different dimension. So we end up continuing the episode. He opens the portal. Like I said, disregarding Doctor Strange, and that Venom-esque creature that Doctor Strange was fighting in the first episode comes through the portal, and pretty much shuts down the whole shop. It messes up the portal when it comes through it, by ripping out the battery or engine. I think it's a battery though, or generator, for the portal that Peter set up. So he ends up messing that up. So the whole portal ends up shutting down. Everybody ends up scattering up out of there. And the little Venom-esque creature is just terrorizing the whole area. So of course Peter runs away, changes into Spider-Man, comes back, starts fighting with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange saves Norman because he almost got attacked by the Venom-esque thing. Spider-Man saves the professor that was in there because he almost got attacked. Then he gets knocked through a wall that ends up unleashing some of the animals that they were testing on. And we see, since they now have part of Peter's blood and DNA, they've been testing it on the different animals to see if they can recreate a Spider-Man and create like an army of Spider-Man. And the very same spider that bit Peter in episode 1 ends up breaking out. He ends up being one of the spiders that they were testing. He ends up breaking out throughout the entire fight. We see Doctor Strange use the Tombstone and use some of his other tricks we've seen in different films. And we see him pretty much trying to open up a portal to take the Venom-esque creature to somewhere different to avoid any collateral damage. And unfortunately, the Venom-esque creature hits the Time Stone as they go through the portal, which causes them to actually go back in time to episode 1, where they fell through the portal in the first place and this whole thing started. The spider that was tested on actually goes through the portal as well, ends up falling onto Peter and biting him, hence starting everything that happened in episode 1. So we just get further context explaining how what happened on episode 1 actually happened. They end up going back up into the portal, and Doctor Strange and Spider-Man work together to open the portal back up and send the Venom-esque creature there, and then destroying the portal so that way he can never come back through. Norman kind of tries to apologize for everything that happened. It's just like, Peter, you got to know this wasn't my intention. And Peter's just like, yeah, I feel you, but brother, just get out of here. Like, it was just like he wanted to be like, bruh, it's the wrong time. Like, you still wrong, but I feel what you're saying. But it was just funny to see his reaction. And pretty much after the whole conflict ends up being resolved, we see on the news everything being reported of what went down at Oscorp, and Norman even says, because is Norman, Peter, and Nico chilling at the crib. May had just went off to work, and not Norman, Harry, Nico and Peter chilling at the crib, and Harry says, like, look, man, like, I'm sure my dad would want to still help you with Spider-Man stuff if you would help him. I mean, if you would want to, but I perfectly understand if you don't. And then Nico kind of throws out the idea, Harry, why don't you create like some type of program or some type of business for where the scientists can pretty much create freely with no hidden agendas. And he was like, you know what, I can't do that. And Peter is like, well, it's not that simple. And he's like, nah, kind of is. I got investors, I got money, I mean, I can kind of do this. So he ends up putting a plan in place, starting a company called Web, which is the Worldwide Engineering Brigade. And they pretty much sends invites out to everybody of intelligence, everybody that was an internship. Lonnie Lincoln got an invite, and a few other people. There's a lot of names on that list. Amadeus Cho pretty much turned it down and wanted to continue to work at Oscorp, so he's still at Oscorp. We see the other intern, I can't think of her name, but she actually works with Daredevil, and he calls her Finesse. I'm not familiar with Finesse in the comics, I ain't gonna hold you, so I didn't know who she was. But I thought that was dope that she was actually a spy. She was actually working with Daredevil, spying on Norman Osborn through the internship. So now she's gonna start working through Web to spy on Web for Daredevil, through her being a part of it. Asha got excited. She was probably gonna get accepted into it. And of course, Peter is probably gonna definitely go because Harry's his friend. But I just thought it was dope. We see Norman revisit the site of where the portal got destroyed and everything. And we see pretty much Norman find a piece of the symbiote, the symbiote-esque creature. He finds a piece of it, so you know he's probably going to experiment on that, and we know that's probably how Venom's going to come in future seasons. So that was a dope plot thread that they threw out there. We also see Spider-Man talking to Dr. Strange at Midtown, just kind of discussing everything and just the responsibility of being a hero and all that. So that was a heartfelt moment. And we see Otto Octavius pretty much designing his octopus arms in prison. And so we see Doc Ock's future in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is going to be very devious, and he's going to become comic book Otto Octavius, Doc Ock, and that's going to be interesting. But yeah, I thought they did these last two episodes very well. I thought that they finalized this series and had a way of making the villains very menacing. Even the ones that didn't really know what they were doing. And I love how because this is Spider-Man's like first year, like his first year as Spider-Man, I love how everybody that knew how to fight beat the brakes off of Spider-Man. Like, it's just like, at the end of the day, Spider-Man's a nerd. Peter Parker's a nerd. He don't know how to fight for real. He just has heightened senses, strength, and agility. And it's just like he has the reflexes of a spider. So it's just like, yeah, he can dodge and he can punch and stuff like that. You know how to do that. But when it comes to somebody who's actually skilled at fighting, Scorpion beat him up. Daredevil beat him up. The Unicorn beat him up. Like, everybody beat him up that knew how to fight. But the villains at first that he was first taking on early on in the series, they didn't really know how to fight. They were still not really aware of how to use the abilities of the tech that they had. And so it was interesting to just see that duality of just like Spider-Man genuinely, he's still new at this, like, so he don't know how to fight just yet. So for these last two episodes, I definitely give like, I give the first episode I give the first episode a 9, and I give the second episode a 10 out of 10. I thought the final episode was done very well. Brought everything full circle, so I thought that was super dope, super neat. The series as a whole, I'll probably give a 7.5. Just because the animation was still super wonky throughout for me. But the stories that they told and the character development that they showed was very, very, very well. It was chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. So I give it a 7.5. Hopefully in future seasons, they've already been greenlit this season 3. Hopefully in future seasons, they're able to hone in on a more cohesive animation style instead of switching from 2D to 3D halfway through, like, producing it just to save money. So hopefully they fine-tune the animation style so that way instead of looking wonky, it'll actually look smooth and clean, because the storytelling's there. And the different plot threads that they threw out in the last 2 episodes that could be continued upon. We also got a look at Lonnie. He's now the new leader of the 1/10th, and we see his hands are starting to change into his comic book Tombstone color, which is very, very pale. Very, very pale. So yeah, I'm interested to see Lonnie's development. I'm interested to see if anything transpires between Peter and Pearl. I'm interested. I actually care about these characters. Like they've told the story so well that I actually care about the characters that are involved in this particular series. So I thought it was done very well. As I said, my rating for this is definitely 7.5. The animation, me being an anime head, it's hard for me to tap in with subpar animation sometimes. So it's just like, it was too wonky for me throughout the series for me to give anything higher than a 7.5. But the storytelling alone, if it would have been wonky with bad storytelling, brother, it's not, but it got butchered. And I love Marvel. But the fact that they were able to tell cohesive stories and make me care about characters that I normally wouldn't care about, and to see characters in a different light than we're used to seeing them, like seeing a young Lonnie Lincoln before he turned into Tombstone, thought that was dope. Thought the story was executed very well. The character development was executed very well. So like I said, 7.5 out of 10 for me. Looking forward towards season 2. They did just reveal Spider-Gwen's design, conceptual designs for Spider-Gwen in season 2. So she may be appearing in season 2. Hopefully Charlie Cox will continue to reoccur as Daredevil on your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I'm interested to see who else is going to show up. Maybe Doctor Strange and Spider-Man will have another team up. Who knows? But I'm excited to see where they go from here, what stories they choose to tell, and how long they're going to end up going. Because if they already are renewed for 3 seasons, I believe X-Men 97 is also renewed for 3 seasons already. So we sitting kind of pretty on the animated side for Marvel on Disney Plus. On Disney Plus series. We still got Eyes of Wakanda and Marvel Zombies dropping later this year. So I'll definitely be reviewing those and tapping in with those. But next up, we got Daredevil Born Again in a couple weeks. March 4th to be exact is when the first episode drops. So I'll be reviewing that as well when it drops. I'm super excited to see it. Can't hold you. I've big fan of Daredevil ever since the Netflix Daredevil. And I remember even when the movie Daredevil dropped, I enjoyed it. But looking back at it, it wasn't that good of a film. But I enjoyed it for what it was as a kid watching that. So shout out to Daredevil. I'm super excited to see him, John Bernthal, and Kingpin as well. So I'm tapped in, I'm locked in. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so that way you can be notified anytime we drop a new video on the channel. Let me know in the comments below how y'all felt about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Have you watched it? If not, you definitely gotta tap in. Like I said, the animation wasn't for me, but the storytelling was top tier. I like the way they told their stories. I like the way they developed that plot and developed those characters. They got me caring about people, man. But yeah, let me know in the comments below how y'all felt about it. Are you excited for Daredevil? Because I know I am. And don't forget to stay locked in, stay tuned in, stay tapped in, and never forget, it's FreeSoul to the show free. Let's get it.